10 classic first-person shooters worth revisiting. First-person shooters have come a long way since they first exploded into the industry, but these classics are well worth going back for. First-person shooters have remained relevant in the industry for a staggering length of time, being widely popularized by the iconic 1992 title Wolfenstein 3D, which was developed by the now legendary ID Software. While many other genres' cultural relevance dwindled through the ensuing decades, FPS games still often find a top spot among the best-selling titles of any given year. Naturally, the best-selling FPS games of today have changed quite a lot from that original formula set out by the ID Software crew, with many of the most popular titles in recent memory being military shooters. With the recent resurgence of that classic, fast-paced FPS style in its own Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, there has never been a better time to go back and appreciate the genre's roots. As such, this rundown will feature some excellent classic titles which have stood the test of time, despite any technical limitations they may have. Number 10. Blood. Blood is the first video game developed by Monolith Productions, best known today for their J.R.R. Tolkien-inspired work Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and it is one impressive debut to be sure. Blood sets you into the dusty boots of Caleb, a cult leader who was betrayed and killed by his own men, now come back to life for vengeance. The game features an incredible atmosphere, seeing you through many gothic locations while blasting through cult members in castles and graveyards. Blood also has one of the most interesting sets of weapons in classic first-person shooting, including a flare gun that lights enemies on fire, and a voodoo doll you poke with a pin for maximum damage. With a recently released remaster by Night Dive Studios, the game has never been in a better state, offering a truly unique and polished experience to all. Blood lives again. Number 9. The Terminator, Future Shock. Developed by Bethesda Softworks of all companies, this is one title certain to surprise longtime fans of their newer RPGs. Yes, in the mid to late 1990s, Bethesda released a series of first-person shooters set in the Terminator franchise, the best of which is Future Shock. This may be the least buggy Bethesda title you ever get, since it wasn't a massive open world with many issues to contend with. The game is surprisingly well polished. It is also quite intricate for the time it was released, featuring large, fully 3D environments to trek through, and even missions for you to complete in them, which was definitely unique for an FPS game of the time. Those of you looking for something different should definitely check this interesting piece of history out. Number 8. Rise of the Triad, 1994. Starting out life as a direct sequel to Wolfenstein 3D, Rise of the Triad went through many changes during its lengthy dev cycle. Being directed by Tom Hall, one of the iconic Fathers of Doom, this title sees many similarities to its predecessor, having the same frenetic gameplay loop. Rise of the Triad distances itself from Doom, and certainly Wolfenstein 3D, by use of its extreme theme and setting, being more like a parody of those shooters. Enemy heads explode, eyeballs fly onto your screen, and there are jump pads that fling you 100 feet into the air while angry mutant cultists throw fireballs at you. Oh, and you can play as a dog. The game is a wacky mess, and it's hard not to love. A full remake of the title was released in 2013, for those looking for more of the same gameplay with a newer coat of paint. Number 7. Heretic. High fantasy and first-person shooting aren't exactly a common combination, with only a few rare titles being able to fit snugly under both categories. One such title, Heretic, was released as far back as 1994. It was truly unique for the time, and of course, it ran on the same engine as Doom. There can only be so much innovation at once, and as such Heretic plays very similarly to that iconic game. You explore large labyrinthian levels, collecting keys and mowing down hundreds of enemies in order to progress. Instead of guns and demons, though, you have staves and undead knights. The game has a few other innovations over its predecessor, most notably its interactive environments, such as a flowing river you must traverse through the level. While Heretic certainly earned its reputation as a Doom clone, there is still plenty of reason to revisit this charming title. Number 6. Star Wars, Dark Forces. After the landmark success that was Doom, most PC gaming developers of the 1990s were focused on making the next best FPS title. This sentiment would reach its way to the LucasArts studio, which would go on to release a game that could even stand up today against some of the very best Star Wars games. Star Wars, Dark Forces sees you in control of Kyle Katarn, a rebel mercenary looking to uncover the Empire's insidious plot. Many different creatures and weapons from the iconic film franchise make an appearance as you explore the game's surprisingly intricate level design. Fans of Star Wars looking for a great FPS title can't do much better than Dark Forces. Number 5. Strife. Strife is the final commercially released game made using ID Software's Doom engine, ID Tech 1. As such, it is also the most complex title available using that engine, with an actually mind-boggling number of additions to Doom's core formula. Numerous RPG mechanics are at play here, including the ability to speak to NPCs and a fully featured questing system. Rather than sending you through a series of levels, Strife has a hub from which all areas branch off, making this surely one of the deepest FPS games of the 1990s. Night Dive Studios have released an excellent remaster for Strife, available on Steam and Nintendo Switch, making this one of the most accessible titles for fans of classic first-person shooting. Number 4, Shadow Warrior, 1997. Ken Silverman's build engine formed the basis for some of the most iconic FPS games of all time, most notably Duke Nukem 3D, the developers of which also made Shadow Warrior. The build engine was particularly impressive for its time, allowing for some genuinely cool features that weren't available in competing games. Shadow Warrior was the last major title of the 90s utilizing this engine. It was also the most impressive. Huge multi-layered levels, 3D voxel-based items, and various other graphical enhancements all contribute to making this one of the best-aged titles in 3D Realms' diverse catalog. There is not only a remaster of the original available, but also a ground-up remake that spawned a trilogy of its own. With this being the case, you have many different avenues available in approaching this all-time classic. Number 3, Serious Sam, The First Encounter. Serious Sam is a series that has always flown under many people's radar, simply because it was released at the wrong time. Being released in 2001, The First Encounter was in direct competition with titles such as Halo, Combat Evolved. The zeitgeist was quickly turning away from high-octane shooting, and towards a more narrative focus. Don't let this take away from Serious Sam's genuine accomplishment of being a top-tier FPS following in the footsteps of Doom, throwing hordes of dangerous enemies at you in some of the best level designs in classic first-person shooting. The First Encounter provides a challenge for even veterans of the genre. Whether you're a fan of the new entries in this long-running series, or you're hearing about it for the first time, The First Encounter is sure to provide hours of gut-tightening, fast and intense fun. Number 2, Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. While the first Turok game often sees its fair share of love online, the second title in this long-dormant franchise is often overlooked. Throwing you once again into the dino-hunting boots of the eponymous Turok, Seeds of Evil is one sequel that deserves high praise. The sheer scale of levels here is truly impressive, all weaving into a central hub that unlocks as you progress through quests. You are not simply walking from point to point and mowing down enemies, but rather exploring huge areas to finish missions and uncover secrets. Those wonderful people at Night Dive Studios have released an excellent remaster for this title, available on all major platforms. Number 1, Unreal Tournament, 1999. Epic Games are easily one of the most iconic studios in multiplayer gaming, period. Having released numerous landmark titles, their status as one of the most influential studios in the industry is inarguable. Unreal Tournament was just the beginning for this absolute titan, and what a stepping stone it proved to be. Fast, frenzied, and above all, fun. There is a clear reason why the original Unreal Tournament still holds for itself a dedicated online community, with servers being hosted by hundreds of players every day. Those of you searching for a quick and easy to pick up multiplayer title with a ton of heart, you can't do much better than this piece of gaming history. Subscribe and turn on the bell for more videos to support.